Alright, lock in because today I'm going to be giving my thoughts and recap on Australian Survivor Brains vs. Brawn II Week 9, the final. Just like that, it's time to get in here. In episode 3, the postgraduates celebrated and Zara decided to reveal to everyone that she was the mastermind behind the final 5 vote, just throwing Miles under the bus and explaining how Miles was coming for AJ and she was never coming for Kaylin even when he didn't have immunity, which guaranteed her final 3, but like, why? I think it locks her into the final 3 if Miles doesn't win immunity. Like, can't risk keeping Miles around with all of that scheming, but also I think it locks her out of the final 2 if she can't win the final 3 immunity challenge, because that's a big move that Zara can speak to. So I don't really know about this gameplay. Good gameplay for the short term, especially since a few episodes ago they seemed to agree that Zara was going at 4, so she's making it to another round. But I don't know if this is the best long-term plan. To me, it just follows the theme of just about everyone on this season being a bit too chatty, a bit too loose with information, a bit too braggadocious, wanting to let everyone know about their big move and how well they're playing, which eventually leads to their elimination. We'll see. Next, it was so funny how AJ talked to Miles and he said that he tanked his own game, and now AJ gets brought to the end now because everyone thinks that Miles is a kid and played a dishonorable game, and he's just telling him as a friend and being honest. Like, what? It's kind of funny because this is the exact same way that Ali was talking to AJ earlier in the game when he was on the bottom, when he tried to overplay with that Logan move. Nice callback. Such a chaotic pre-merge. Gonna be a fun rewatch when I eventually rewatch this season soon. But yeah, AJ saying that he gets taken to the end now isn't exactly wrong, because this is the first time that I heard Kaylin say that he's taking AJ to final 2, and Zara said she's taking AJ to the end. Like, that's why she didn't want to go along with Miles' plan. This works out well for AJ because he's probably beating both of them at Final Tribal Council. That's why Miles wanted to make a final 2 deal with Kaylin, and I think something that worked out well for Miles here is that although his final 5 move was a fail and he showed that he wasn't graduate strong like that, at least he didn't take a shot at Kaylin while he was vulnerable, which shows that he didn't want him out of the game. That move might not look good to everyone, but to Kaylin, that's convincing. Like, he can work with Miles. Plus, the chaos that Miles caused made him look like a good option to sit next to at final 2. So I believe that helped him with getting this final 2 deal off the ground. Would have been interesting to see if Kaylin would stay loyal to the final 2 deal here, but he got forced to for this round because Miles won immunity, which was much needed with AJ and Zara against him, and Kaylin sort of on the fence but probably more loyal to AJ. This put Zara in danger because AJ and Kaylin were unbreakable, and AJ was concerned about getting voted out of the game 2-1-1. If he voted for Kaylin and Kaylin voted for Zara, then Zara and Miles could team up and vote for AJ. In the moment, I thought it was too much loyalty to Kaylin, but that's actually a smart plan from AJ. Didn't like the 3-3-1 plan at the final 7, too complex for my liking, but this here is actually some good strategy because he's voting with Kaylin and he's at least guaranteeing himself a fire making challenge. Now, Zara and AJ weren't good at fire making, which is actually going to play into the decision making. Miles can either take the final 2 deal with Kaylin, not betray him, go along with AJ and Kaylin to vote Zara out, probably the person that he thinks is the easiest to beat and might take him to the end, or he can vote with Zara, give her a chance to make fire, in which if she won, she could probably win the final 3 endurance challenge and take Miles to the end. Big decision, but Miles decided to vote out Zara, and I like this decision. First off, don't force a fire that you're not in because that's possible resume points that you don't get. Also, Miles was banking on her to win a fire making challenge, which just wasn't likely, and even if she won, she just betrayed Miles at the final 5 votes, so it's not a guarantee that she takes Miles to the end. Also, I think by not going to an unnecessary fire making challenge, this somewhat maintains Kaylin's loyalty, shows him that Miles wasn't locked in with Zara and he actually wants to go to the end with Kaylin. So while I kind of wanted to see a fire making challenge, I like this move. Now I have to talk about Zara. I said that she would probably be the worst winner out of these 4, and I still believe that. Although I have seen some exit press by now and people have defended her game. But basically, the way I see it, nice spot with the Coven, nice spot with the graduates when the Coven broke up. She got swap screwed going to a Brawn heavy Brain tribe, but she and Laura were able to be included in Girls Gone Wild, and they increased their longevity. Zara also increased her longevity by stealing Laura's clue, advantage, whatever, and outpitching her to go back to the brain heavy Brawn tribe with all of her graduates except for Miles. While I was rooting for the witch, like there's no doubt that Zara just absolutely outplayed her there and was a more cutthroat and more opportunistic player, which just makes her a better player in the end. Then at the merge, I kind of feel like she was coasting. She's Karen's right-hand woman until she gets eliminated, but then she gets the graduates back together, which although she might not have had the most win equity in that group, maybe going with that Kristen, Morgan, Kate, and Logan group could have been better for her winning chances, or having a mix of them and graduates could have been nice, although she probably has a tougher time beating anyone in the graduates. Like, at least she's getting to 4, and if Miles doesn't win immunity here, she's getting to 3, the challenge that everyone wanted to keep her away from. And if she gets to final 2 and talks about how much control she had at the final 5 vote with a big move and a Coven jury, like anything can happen. That's why the Kate move wasn't even a mistake for real, because Kate had to go at some point. Like nothing was stopping her from winning this final 4 challenge. Nothing was stopping her from making deals and possibly getting in a fire making challenge, which Zara said that Kate was good at fire making. Then if Kate wins that, she's in the final 3 and the favorite to win that challenge. And Jury Villa could potentially be misleading. Like I don't know if Kate just beats anyone in like the final 5. I don't know if like them rooting for her means that she was going to win, but she's a competent player, so like she had a shot to win. Kate flat out needed to go, and her vote out kept on getting pushed down the road, so I like that Zara capitalized on that opportunity. Also, Zara stays if Miles doesn't beat the biggest challenge beast in all of Survivor. I think she would have had the worst winning game out of the final 4, but it actually is an underrated good game. She could probably be in my top 5 players for this season in the player rankings, so well done. In episode 24, I'll just get straight to the immunity challenge. Like a lot of the content outside of the tribal councils and the challenge was sort of just like recap content and the players explaining their journey and such. In the big final immunity challenge, despite AJ trying to make deals and such, Kalen was able to win his 7th immunity challenge, just putting that record even further out of reach. And AJ thought that this was good because a constant theme throughout this episode and these final few episodes was that he thought that Kalen was taking him to the end, but that wasn't all the way locked in. Actually, at Tribal Council, Miles and AJ were pitching which one of them played the best game, which I didn't think that Miles downplaying his game in front of the jury was amazing, but hey, like it's a solid argument to take him to the end. 26 votes against him, sloppy gameplay, while AJ's been the biggest threat. In the end, AJ just kept on telling Kalen to go with his heart, and he voted out AJ here, which could have been shocking maybe a few episodes ago because like they seemed really close, but also this makes sense because Miles got in between them. Like he convinced Kalen that AJ is the biggest threat and they made a final 2 deal together. But yeah, now I have to talk about AJ. I didn't think that he was going to be long for the game. Not only was he not in that Coven alliance, which was a big focus early on, but he tried to go against the Coven, which sort of blew up his game and could have got him voted out. And even when he stayed, he was kind of getting made fun of by Allie for being on the bottom. But he was able to survive just long enough for the Coven to implode and the graduates to form, which they won the Mad Max Tribal Council, where Allie went home. Then he got a favorable swap, 5 brains, 4 brawn, where although I didn't like the way that he played it, like why are you targeting brains? Why are you telling Rich that you're going to leave him on an island voting with the bronze when he wants backing? Like they really could have worked together. Also, the hostage stuff was questionable because if the other tribe throws, then your graduates, Miles and Zara, are at risk and you're making everyone mad because why should those bronze work with you when you're threatening to vote out their allies if they don't throw challenges? But despite this, he's able to make it through. Played an idol when he didn't need to, but like why take the risk? Yeah, Karin got mad, but to me, that was kind of irrational because, like AJ said, it's a hidden immunity idol. Then he probably survives the poly, like AJ split vote had it actually gone to a vote. Then at the merge, he made friends with Kate and by extension Morgan, and that group kind of ran the early merge, especially at the Laura vote. They ditched the Girls Gone Wild coven to go with AJ and put their games in his hands, while AJ didn't have to put his game in the hands of Kate and Morgan because he had other allies. The Kate and Morgan friendship worked out better for him because he was able to use the information that Kate gave him to save Miles, get him to use his idol. He used Kate and Morgan as votes until he didn't need them anymore and was willing to draw a line in the sand at the final 8. And while I think he played suboptimally at the final 7 and final 6, all but telling Kate and Morgan the target for those nights, which if they had an idol, they could have really wrecked AJ's game, but hey, that wasn't the case. AJ picked the winning side, the side with the most loyalty, the side with the challenge beast, the side with the advantage finder, and he had the most win equity out of that group. AJ's only flaw was not being good at challenges and being too good at the game, which locked him out of the final tribal council. So yeah, regardless of the winner, I think that AJ was the best player of the season. Next, it's the final tribal council, where basically Kalen's pitch was that he set records with immunity, only received 1 vote against him, downplayed his threat level so he could receive information and blow up people's games, and even when he went on that immunity run, he was always somewhat safe, and since he took out the biggest strategist in the end, that makes him the best strategist. While Miles talked about playing a riskier game than Kalen's, like, yeah, he might not have hit on all of his moves, but when he hit, they were home runs, and he played from the bottom with a smile, and it takes a lot of skill to use advantages right, and he rode dragons to the end and got them to destroy other people's games, then used one dragon to slay another, and Kalen just coasted, while Miles survived in every possible way. Then they got to the questions, which I'm not going to repeat all of them. Like, I sort of summed up their pitches, sort of summed up like what they had to say. I feel like Kalen's pitch was kind of logical, but also sort of game body and emotionless, especially when he talked about running this experiment a bunch of times and he would always get near the end. It was a safe game, which to me is a smart game, but the jury wasn't looking for that. Also, they probably didn't think that he had that cutthroat mentality because at the previous tribal council, he took the guys away from everyone for a chat and cried when he voted out AJ. So it's tough to really claim that move, like it was all part of his plan. While Miles, on the other hand, he really tugged at the jury's heartstrings and really talked about like being on the bottom, and he was so self-aware, especially when it came to Logan's question about what they would have done differently, where Miles said that he would have played a better social game while Kalen thought that he played a perfect game. And while Miles didn't play the perfect game, potentially a more flawed game than Kalen's game, he played a more interesting game, a riskier game, and still got to the end and probably just had a better story, a better narrative than Kalen, which the jury seemed to buy into. So Miles wins 7-1, with Kalen's only vote being from Kristen, and yeah, I've got to say, very predictable outcome, especially since Miles was like the narrator of the season and had like 80 confessionals, while Kalen only had like 20 confessionals. Never thought that AJ was winning, but when he went out, it just had to be Miles. But yeah, that's how it ends. Now I have to talk about Kalen. I liked his game. He downplayed himself at the beginning, never seen as a threat, which is why he only got 1 vote throughout the whole game and 1 vote at final tribal council. So maybe that was a flaw in his game. But yeah, everyone thought that they were in with Kalen until he's sending them home, like in the Karin vote. He's always in on the plan, always floating ideas out there, and it actually worked. Like, I believe that he kept AJ safe on Brawn 2.0. Polly before AJ. Like, Kalen was covering for all of his craziness. Then he turns into a challenge beast where, yeah, he didn't necessarily need those immunities, but that's better. That just shows that he can be a beast and be so well insulated that no one really wants him out or has the numbers to take him out, like at least until the final 6 round. And because of his immunity wins, he kept the necklace out of the hands of people that he wanted to vote out, which ensured that he could always get his way, especially since he was aligned with Miles, the advantage finder. So they could vote out anyone that they wanted. That's why I'll never be one of those immunity wins don't matter, like this isn't the challenge, it's all about the social game type of fans. No, it is part of the game. It takes effort to win an immunity challenge. Like, how about you try and win one, especially like stranded on an island, sleep deprived and malnourished and all. Plus, impressiveness is subjective, but one thing that's not debatable is that it clearly mattered because he kept immunity away from everyone outside of his alliance, which allowed the graduates to steamroll. Hey, it allowed the graduates to have a higher chance at coming out on top in the potential rock draw at Final 8, with Kaylin having the necklace and Zara being immune if it went to a rock draw. Then it's just Miles and AJ versus Kate, Morgan, and Kristen. The immunities clearly mattered. They clearly impacted the game, and winning 7 of them isn't like easy. Like, that's nothing to just like shrug off. So I have to applaud that for Kaylin. I've tried to be very nice this season, try not to get heated, try not to go on rants, but I just hate that argument and how it always comes up in like every competition show. This argument only comes from people that probably aren't the most athletic and can't see themselves winning challenges. Like, they can't relate to the people that are winning these challenges, so they downplay that aspect of the game, which is understandable to want to see yourself in a person, but that doesn't mean that you just like erase a whole aspect of the game and act like securing safety and keeping safety away from others is just nothing because it's not social strategy. It's a literal pillar of the game that was being talked about in this final tribal council. Anyways, back to Kaylin. He probably played his way into an unwinnable position at Final 3, probably could have taken AJ out at 4, but then that leaves Zara in, the endurance threat, and with a big move at the Final 5 that she can speak to, so it was probably going to be tough for Kaylin to beat anyone in that Final 4, potentially even like from the Final 5. Even when he got to the final tribal council, I feel like there was a chance that he could win, but not only did he not play like the flashy game that the jury was looking for, I don't think he convinced them and got everyone to understand that like he actually didn't really need a big and flashy move. Like, why make a big move when the deck is stacked in your favor? Why make a big move when it can blow up your game and you probably don't even make it to final tribal council? Why add extra adversity to your journey just because? Like, that's just making a big move for the sake of making a big move. All shock value with no substance to back it up. I like how Kaylin said that he made small moves that led to the end result because that's repeatable and he wouldn't get the blame, but he didn't like drive that point home, and like that wasn't what the jury was looking for. He probably wins more games of Survivor than Miles. Like, I have him as a better player than Miles, but this jury just wasn't feeling his game. I felt like they wanted a big move and a story, and he just didn't have that. Maybe if he got Kate or Morgan or Zara to the end, he might have had a better chance, but that's not what happened. Like AJ said, he took 2 shields to the end that took all of the hits for him and survived on their own, so they overshadowed him. Now, I don't think that Miles was a shield because like he was a good player necessarily. I thought that he was a shield because he was a chaotic player, someone that took the heat off of Kaylin because of his bad gameplay at points, but hey, the jury didn't see it that way. So yeah, I think Kaylin played a less flawed game than Miles, but I can also see why he lost because he didn't have a good final tribal council performance. Like, he didn't have any big moves or an exciting narrative, which the jury was looking for. Now I have to talk about Miles. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Big dubs. Miles was hyped up as a big character in the promos, and I thought that he could be gone in the pre-merge. But he was able to escape Kent's poison and the hat burning saga because Kent and Indy blew up their own games. Like, they were nice shields for Miles. Got to join the graduates for that one crazy vote. Now, he got swap screwed and he was being annoying and he had to play his idol, which he miraculously found in the challenge that they were throwing. But yeah, even though he secured his safety, no one went along with his plan to get Kate out. But I don't think that's horrible and like a huge misplay on Miles's part. She was a good player. The Brawns were never breaking up, like at least it seemed that way at that point. Max was going after him, yes, because of sloppy gameplay where Ali told Max that Miles said his name, but like Yeah, the Kate vote was never happening at all. Like, he just didn't have enough luck with the swap, like, just didn't have enough rational players on his side. When I thought that would have been an amazing move to get Kate out right there, especially considering how important of a player she was. And they could have got her out right here with their two idols if Max wasn't so tunnel vision on the rivalry and so ready to flip on the brains, which was probably a bad play for him. Now, I think a flaw in Miles' game is that Laura and Zara got brought into something Girls Gone Wild earlier than Miles, and Miles was only brought into the Hunks Alliance as a last resort. Like, they never really wanted to work with him. But he was safe regardless, because if it was a regular vote, then like Jesse goes home, and because of the twist, Miles was never going anywhere. And even after that vote, Miles was still safe because he was never with the Hunks 3 and probably would have sided with what was left of Girls Gone Wild and made it 4. Also, although it didn't really like lead to much, I thought it was good gameplay to expose the brain dynamics and like market himself as a free agent and like try and make himself a more appealing option for those OG bronze to keep. Then at the merge, a vote after the merge, like he makes a questionable PD move with like stealing Kristen's idol and playing it for Polly. But then I found out in exit press that like they were working on a 6 of AJ, Kaylin, Miles, Kate, Morgan, and Polly, which makes more sense. It's a solid move, probably the only big move that he really got off the ground, which is more than can be said for Kaylin, but like they were acting like Miles had an abundance of big moves. But yeah, anyways, then like a few votes down the road, everyone wants to target Miles at Bounty versus Baron because he's getting cocky or whatever, which forced him to burn his idol, and like no one went along with his plan to get out Kristen, which was an amazing plan, but he couldn't get anyone on board, which is less excusable than the Kate vote because the game was fluid at this point. And in that whole week, AJ was trying to leave him out of votes and distance himself away from Miles because it was a bad look to be associated with his chaotic gameplay. Then he cruises to the end with the graduates, where along the way, he and AJ took advantage of mostly everyone on that Kate, Morgan, Kristen, and Logan side, not necessarily knowing how rocks worked all the way. They threatened rocks, but also explained to the other side that like they had a higher chance to lose the rock draw. Then in the next round, I like that Miles shut down AJ's complicated 3-3-1 plan and backed it up with the logic that he had an idol. But in the next round, he gave Kate and Morgan ammunition to blow up his game by saying that he wanted Kaylin out, and even floated the possibility of wanting to take a shot at Kaylin at Tribal Council when he hasn't even made it past the final 6 Tribal Council yet. Then at the final 5, smart thinking to get AJ out. Like he got Kate to vote his way, so that's nice, but he couldn't get Zara to vote his way. Then he clutches up at the final 4, wins immunity, makes a final 2 deal with Kaylin, and cuts Zara, someone that he can't depend on to make a fire, and with her decision at 5, like he probably can't trust her to take him to the end. So yeah, that was probably Miles' best round of gameplay. Then he gets taken to the end by Kaylin because he was able to paint AJ as the biggest threat. Then at the final Tribal Council, while he didn't play the perfect game, like he admitted that and talked about how, yes, he was helped out a lot by advantages, but also like he had to use them correctly. And he talked with so much enthusiasm, and like he had a story that really connected with the jury, and like he won them over. It's a rocky game for sure, but Miles made it work for him and pitched himself the best, so he deserved to win. And yeah, that is just about everything that I have to say about Australian Survivor, Brains vs. Brawn II. It was a solid season, fun watch, especially in the pre-merge. I wish that the Brawn tribe didn't get such a bad edit. Like there were some players that I was on the fence with, like I could see myself liking them, but they just didn't get a real edit, which is why this isn't the perfect season. But there's a lot of players that I'd like to see return from this season for sure. So hopefully they get the call back. And yeah, like I said, fun watch. Glad that I got to watch it with friends. Like glad that I had a lot of conversations this season, which just added to the experience, getting to interact more. And yeah, hopefully Australian Survivor keeps on going up. I love it. Now, for me, my plan is to combine all of these thoughts and recap videos into one giant video. That's going to happen for sure, like that's easy. Then everything I say after that is a plan, but like it's not a promise because I get busy sometimes. But yeah, after that, I'm going to rewatch the season and make player rankings. Then after that, I'm going to rate or grade every episode of the season. Like A through F grading scale. And while I'm at it, like I'm going to grade the overall weeks as well. Then I plan on making player journey videos where I recap a player's journey and say what I thought about their gameplay, which I'll wait for more exit press, more postseason stuff to come out before I make those, like, fill in those gaps with more information. Some players had storylines that were completely cut out of the show, so I'm definitely going to wait. There were so many interesting characters on this season, so I definitely want to make a few of those videos. And yeah, once I'm done with those videos, it'll probably be time for AU versus the world, which I'm not committing to. Like, can't really commit to anything right now. Wasn't even necessarily planning on covering this season with long form videos. At first, it was just going to be either like the short form TikToks or no content at all. Like, I was probably just going to watch it for myself. But yeah, like I'll check out the first few episodes of AU versus the world and like see if I like it and go from there. But yeah, that is all for now. Stay strong, stay brutal, because above all else, it's anything to win.
I won't let you down, Bruce. I'll keep fighting. Always.